Thank you and good evening everybody to M14, the December 2020 Ordinary Council meeting. I'd just like to quickly around the room here before we get stuck into this. The people watching at home, we have with us Councillor Keeble, Councillor Janice, Councillor Vincent, Councillor Chalwell, Acting CEO Mr Jeremy, myself, Councillor Nicholas and Councillor Prime, and also in vision will be Mr Alan Clark, who is our Acting Director of Assets, on loan or on secondment from Wangaratta, and we thank the CEO down there, Brendan McGrath, very much for that. Out of vision will be our Director of Corporate, Miss Natalie Cook. So, having said that, I will now get this actor to read this following statement.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. All council meetings are filmed with both video and audio being recorded. Video is focused on a specific area, however, from the entire room is captured. Question time will still be held, however, questions must be submitted in writing prior to the meeting. By submitting a question, you consent to your question being read aloud at the meeting. In common with all narrative during council meetings, verbal responses to congratulations, obituaries and question time will not be recorded in the written minutes. The reasoning behind recording council meetings is, of course, to hold us more accountable and to improve transparency of council's decision making to our community. The full meeting is being streamed live on council's YouTube channel, which is Alpine Shire Council, and will also be available on the YouTube channel shortly after this meeting.
Thank you. I would now like to recognise the Acknowledgement of Traditional Owners. The Alpine Shire Council acknowledges the Tungarung traditional owners and their ancestors as the traditional owners of the land we are now on, and we pay our respect to elders past and present. We also acknowledge those people who have contributed to the rich fabric of our community and strive to make wise decisions that will improve the quality of life for all. Thank you. Item 3. Confirmation of minutes, Ordinary Council meeting 24th of November. The recommendation is that the minutes...
So moved.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Chalwell. Any comment? No. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed. Apologies. We have an apology from our CEO, Mr Charlie Bird, whom we are expecting back for our next Ordinary Council meeting. Moving along, we have obituaries and congratulations, and I'll start from in front of me at Councillor Keeble, please.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I don't have any. I'm just wondering if you can move your microphone a bit closer.
Certainly.
For the people at home. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Janice.
No, none thanks, Mr Mayor, tonight.
None, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you.
None, thank you.
Excellent.
I have an obituary. I'd like to acknowledge the passing of Ponty Mills. Ponty is a long-term resident of Bright and variously described as a local legend. But for me, he was just an absolute gentleman. He was kind, friendly, genuine, always had a really big wave, and he will be sorely missed, not least by his family, his wife Betty and daughter Julie, and Julie's family. My first time in a paraglider, I landed in Ponty's paddock up on Mystic Lane, and Ponty was out in the paddock and chatting to us as we packed up, and it was just a lovely, lovely experience having that contact with a local person. So, thanks to Julie and Betty.
Thank you, Councillor Nicholas. Councillor Prime.
None, thank you.
Excellent. Right. Declarations by councillors. Any conflict of interest? Item 6. No. Item 7. This is the public question time, and in a normal situation we would have people in the chamber here asking questions from the floor. However, in these troubled times, which we are finally getting out of, we are taking questions on notice in a written format. We have one question tonight, and it's from Joe Zananarini, and I will read this out, and then we will make some comment about it. This is directed to the council meeting. 2 notices of application for an exploration licence appeared in the Alpine Observer on the 2nd of the 12th, 2020, relating to a future gold mining in our shire. Application EL, etc., relates to the area covering from Ovens to Back Creek. Application EL, etc., relates to the area covering Harrietville to Porpunka, as well as Germantown to the edge of Mount Beauty. Ratepayers potentially impacted by a successful outcome of these applications for gold mining include both tourist operations as well as farmers. Holiday makers will not find a valley in the throes of gold mining an attractive option. Farmers' lands and water are potentially impacted adversely, given that both applications also cover waterways in the natural environment. Birds, wildlife and flora would be impacted as well. As a ratepayer in a rural area, this is from Germantown, I would ask the council to discuss the impacts of these 2 applications at the Shire tonight. Opposition to both applications need to be forwarded to, etc. On this application for an exploration licence, I'd like to now ask our Director of Corporate, Ms Cook, just to give us a brief view of where council sits in these particular instances, and then we will have a bit of discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had a couple of these types of licences or applications for licences come to our attention over the last couple of years. Mining licences themselves are regulated by the state government. Earth Resources Victoria is the government body that regulates this process. Should a mining licence be granted, and then if that triggers a planning permit requirement, council becomes involved to assess the permit application. How this is assessed then depends on the nature of the application itself, the land use, the situation of the site, the effect on amenity, and other factors like that. The planning application process would generally be required for small mines. We would expect it to be required. However, some mining licences and some mining outcomes are actually exempt from planning permit applications. So should a planning permit be triggered, they will come to council for assessment, and we would consider a planning permit for a mining licence to be something that councillors would want us to bring to a council meeting, and it would also go through the general objections and notification processes as is triggered under the Act. So we would assess it in line with the requirements of the Act, and it would come to a council meeting generally for a decision.
Thank you. It's probably a little bit out of the ordinary, but I'm going to ask if any councillors would like to make comment regarding this. It's become quite a hot topic currently in the local area. So would anybody like to make any comment? Councillor Keeble?
If I may ask a question?
Certainly.
To Ms Cook, it's my understanding that the Shire has not received any paperwork in regards to planning yet, have they, for any mining?
No, not in relation to this, to these notifications that have gone into the
So at this stage,
paper.
what people are reading in the papers is for exploratory, which the state government is to decide on whether they decide yes or no.
Yes.
Correct. Thank you.
Any other councillors like to make comment? Councillor Janis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this is gaining some public interest for sure, and that's good that the public are paying attention to these matters and look to council as being a lead. Now, whether we are the lead in this situation is yet to be determined, and I think it's prudent for council to have all the information before them before we can have a decent discussion in relation to this. At this point, we have very little information, so to speak, and we could put ourselves in invidious situation where we have possibly given the wrong information or wrong leadings to certain groups that may have an interest in any outcome that might occur. So I myself am hesitant to make further comment on this until I have further and better information.
Thank you, Councillor Janis. Any other councillors? Right. Sorry, Councillor Nicholas.
Sorry, I'm a bit slow on the uptake. Similar thinking to Councillor Janis. I understand the concern. I think it's terrific that community members are paying attention. At this point in time, it is an exploration process for the next 5 years. It's exploration. My concern is that we don't have enough information about what that means to people who have a farm or who might be affected by that exploration. So I think that's something that I need to spend some time thinking about and finding out about. And I wonder if we can put some information on Facebook or something like that, if we can find some more information to help people.
Right, I think the way forward on this one would be that the acting CEO, Mr. Jeremy, and myself contact the various proponents or various people involved, whether it be Earth Resources and or the mining company involved, get a little bit more information, and then if we can put that information back out, and I think the best way for us to put that information out would be through the Alpine Shire Facebook page under some title or something. Let's work through that, and hopefully we'll definitely have something out before Christmas. Would that be fine? Excellent. I think that's the way forward. Right. 8. Presentation of report by officers. 8.1.1. The schedule of ordinary council meetings. I will hand over to the acting CEO, Mr. Jeremy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report seeks Council's endorsement for the proposed ordinary meeting schedule for Council for the 2021 calendar year. The schedule is as presented, so there are 2 changes from what's been in place for this year, which I'll talk you through, but other than that, this is essentially a mirroring of what the schedule looks like for this year. So the 2 changes are, the first one is in the proposed start time for the meetings. So our council meetings have been scheduled over the last period to commence at 7 p.m, and following the election of the councillors this year, there's been a review, and it's proposed that the start time is moved to an earlier commencement time of 5 p.m. rather than the previous time of 7 p.m. So the meetings are live streamed, and they're available for community members to watch them either in real time or after the meeting on our YouTube channel. So that's the first proposed change. And then secondly, the second change relates to locations. So you'll note that all the locations for the meetings are currently proposed to be held in Bright. So this is as a result of the COVID restrictions, and at the moment we can't forecast what the outcome of the COVID restrictions are going to look like in the next calendar year. So we will adapt when the restrictions are reduced. We will then revisit the calendar, and we will look for opportunities to hold some meetings in all alternative locations, as we have done this year and in previous years.
Excellent. Can I just add to that, before I put this recommendation to the vote, that moving out to to Mount Beauty and Myrtleford is a logistic situation. It's a logistic problem sometime. Alpine Shire is in the process of upgrading the IT in these various places so that it will be applicable for us to be able to get out there and actually be able to live stream correctly and not have our audio problems that we have had in the past. I would also like to point out that by February, I am hoping, with the current donut days in Victoria, that we will be able to open up the gallery to the public, and I think we might be able to have our first public meeting. I would like to see it in February. If not at the moment, I think the recommendation is not to open up until April. But let's see how we go with that one. Right, could I have a mover and a second? Moved. Thank you, Councillor Nicholas. Seconded. Councillor Vincent. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Invite the mover or the seconder to speak first, however, if they're not doing so. In point 4, notice of any change required to the 2021 Ordinary Council meetings be given at least 6 days prior to the revised date. And I think that's an important paragraph in there, important dot point, because there could well be matters before council that have got a great deal of community interest, and I'm sure most all items have anyway, but some are a little bit more topical than others, and I think we should be flexible enough to enable people who are working or with children to be able to attend that meeting in a timely manner, to either listen to or have some questions in relation to any item that might be on our schedule. And I think item or point 4 gives us that flexibility should it be required, noting the 6 days before it has to go out.
I think
I don't want people to think that we are just hard and fast on some matters.
We also have the provision of special council meetings, or special meetings of council, I should say, which can be outside the schedule and may be called by various means. So we do have that flexibility as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Janus. Any other comment? No? Direct back to you, Councillor Nicholas? No? No? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. It's carried. 8.2, and now I will introduce more formally our Acting Director of Assets, Alan Clark. 8.2.1, petition for an upgrade of the Bright Skate Park.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So this report's presented to Council to inform Council and provide a response to a petition that was tabled at the September ordinary meeting of Council in regard to a request for an upgrade to the Bright Skate Park. This came about with a petition containing 1,200 signatures. The petition was received on an online platform called change.org, which means it didn't quite meet the normal governance rules around petitions in that it did not contain addresses or original signatures. But given the restrictions that COVID-19 place on us all, an exception has been agreed to for this particular petition so it can be considered in the normal fashion. The petition formally requests the upgrade to the Bright Skate Park, and it's probably worth noting that the Mount Beauty and Myrtleford parks have been upgraded in recent years, and the specific request is to upgrade to deliver a larger footprint with more features for riders of different abilities. This is supported by Office, and that's evident in the fact that the project is listed in Council's project pipeline for delivery in 2026 to 2030. The proponent of the petition has requested that the implementation be brought forward to the 21-22 financial year. So the recommendation is as presented. Probably worth noting point 3 in the recommendation that recommends that Council commits to seeking external funding to accelerate the time frame for the delivery of the project, subject to community fundraising being secured by the proponent or an auspicing organisation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nicholas. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Keeble. Councillor Nicholas.
Just like to pick up on Mr Clark's comments about needing some community support in terms of financial support behind such a project, and that's what's occurred in the other 2 townships where the skate parks have been redeveloped, and also mentioned that this isn't a new concept, that the Bright Skate Park is updated. There is some money sitting in the bank already, but I don't know how much, and I think the people behind the petition and behind the upgrade are right on to knowing that they need to have some extra funding. Therefore they've applied for bushfire grant funding, which we're still waiting for, and then I look forward to them proceeding along the lines that we're expecting, and that we will get an upgrade to the skate park sooner than it is currently in our pipeline.
Excellent. Councillor Keeble.
It's it's great to see some grassroots community, actions coming forward from young people in our shire, and hats off to Tegan for putting this together. I agree with everything that Councillor Nichols has mentioned, and we'll see what happens with the funding and where we go from there. I like the fact that we will look for funding to accelerate the time frame, but that's that has to come out from government, and we will look for that. And council officers have been very good at doing that in the last many
They
years.
have. There's a lot of money about. Councillor Charwell.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to point out, communities do need to band together for these things. So if there's community members that know that they can help in these processes, even if they're not directly involved but can help in different sections of it, I think we all need to reach out to each other and really get this one going, because there's untapped resources out there. It's not just the Bright community that would like to see something like this. I know that the other communities in the Alpine Shire would definitely rally behind something like this as well. So put your hands up, ask the questions, come through us if you need to see who we can put ourselves out there.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Janis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I agree with the views of all of my
We're off.
fellow councillors. Sorry.